Hey everyone, we're going to touch base on some current events today, but we're also going to discuss how the channel will be getting back to the basics, getting back to ancient wisdom for modern life, more meditative techniques, more deep dives into the supernatural world, supernatural history, folklore, how it all connects to all the strange things happening in the sky, etc., etc. We're going back there. I really like to put in the time and energy that I once was. But that requires me to give you guys some insight into what the last 3 to 5 years of my life have looked like. Um, because I kept all this stuff to myself pretty quiet for a lot of different reasons. And it's made it very difficult for me to be able to communicate what's actually happening. And so I'm sure a lot of people on the outside are looking at me and looking at the inconsistency of the channel or the inconsistency of my work and thinking I'm like some lunatic or whatever, but it couldn't be the farthest thing from the case. And I'm not going to go into like a lot of details uh, for a lot of different reasons, but I'd like to give you some insight into why it's been so difficult, why all those really cool, fun things that you guys enjoyed doing, whether they were the live chats or the classes or the one-on-one consulting, why all those things stopped happening. But I'm not going to sit here and go on for an hour about a sob story. But I got no one to talk to about this stuff, honestly. Like, and so it's cathartic for me, but it's also informative for all of you. So, as everyone knows, COVID hit and everything already became pretty difficult. It was if you were against all of the COVID stuff, right down to the not masking and half suffocating yourself, it was very difficult to find work. For instance, I was working at a job that it was a state job, and so they went really hard on it. And there was already a lot of issues at that job, but went really hard on the COVID stuff. And so for different reasons, um, I had to get out of there. And from there on out, it just felt like I was bouncing around, whether it was a politics thing, whether it was the COVID stuff, it became kind of difficult. And so I started just to travel and make what I absolutely needed to make in order to get by. I was on the road a lot. Um, and then I landed in Tennessee and I just got like a stable, basic job. Um, Kept on getting promises from the employer about this opportunity in the business and that opportunity in the business, and I have insane amount of experience. Like I'm really good at what I do. And so it was really unfortunate that I was no longer able to, it seemed like I was no longer able to apply all of my skills. Excuse me. And so then I moved a little bit more west and I moved in with someone who ended up having some issues. Now, everyone's got issues. Everyone's got problems, right? It was no different than anything I'd dealt with before, but I had removed a lot of people from my life who had been engaging in deception, gaslighting, manipulation, and other types of like psychological abuse and just being assholes, right? And this person put on a really good show. And but as soon as I moved in with the person, and all my stuff came into the house and we started, sharing things, it started to get pretty bad. And I've never in my whole life, I've been around criminals, like killers. Like seriously, I grew up in a rough part of town. I had a really, really rough childhood, like killers, right? And look, Like I knew them. I knew people like that, not necessarily my family, but there was other issues with the family. So I'm no stranger to hardship, suffering, all that kind of stuff. And I've always just persevered and just been like, well, that was in my past. Let me move on. Like this person's kind of messed up. Let me remove them from my life. And that's always been the case. Things started getting really weird and supernatural everywhere I went. It started like maybe 2017, 18. Like I started having, I can't explain to you how strange and like mind-bending some of these interactions were. I won't go into detail. One day, maybe I'll share my story of all the weird possession, demonic stuff that happened around me. But it was so much. And I had witnesses around me seeing this stuff. Mind-blowing. Almost like stuff out of a movie, like contortions in the face and speaking as if the demon is speaking through you. This demon sent me to do this to you. Really, seriously, all these things happened to me. You could say all these people were experiencing psychosis, but there was a couple instances where, um, it's like when they ask the Catholic priest, like, how do you know the difference between psychosis and an actual possession? And like, there's these certain things they look for, and a lot of times there would be some of those things in the person. Crazy stuff. But anyway, I felt like I was being hunted everywhere I went. Every job that I took, every new friend that I had, I'd have friends come to me and tell me that once they like started talking to me, slowly this voice would get in their head and tell them how I was terrible, tell them I couldn't be trusted, say anything they could. I'm not joking with you. I've had multiple people come to me and say that, and it never happened to them before until they met me, that there would just be this nagging voice telling them to stop talking to me, telling them I was dangerous or I was a liar or whatever. And in rare situations where the person understood that there was this sort of spiritual, supernatural, whatever you want to call it, aspect, telepathy with these, other intelligences, we would discuss this and they would be like, I know that's coming from this other negative thing. But the thing is that it would drive them nuts because it wouldn't stop. And so these people, like I've had people in my life where we're like, we just had to stop talking because they were being tormented. And I was like, I get it. Like, I understand. I'm sorry. And it happens all the time. And it happens so much, so often that I would actually I would have a conversation with any new person in my life. Um, Not to like do a placebo, not to, it was happening pretty much every single time with every single person. The person would either let me know it was happening, or you would just see the person all of a sudden become hyper suspicious of me and accuse me of things that were like, like completely ridiculous, unprecedented, didn't have any evidence. There was absolutely no reason to think I was doing any of the things they were accusing me of. Um, or you would just see them try to sabotage me in every single way they could. And this the glare and the leer and this, and, you know what I mean? Like they were angry and nothing happened. And it would be like overnight. Everything would be cool one day. They'd get up in the next, it's like they hated my guts out. And I would never get a thing that I was doing that was upsetting them. I never got coached at work for a thing that I was doing wrong. I would just get flipped out about something that I didn't do, right? Or something that was a normal thing that was a part of my job, or something they would ask me to do and then later yell at me for doing it and pretending like they didn't ask me, like really crazy shit. So this was following me everywhere I went. And so this, I'm not going to go into details because me going into details is actually dangerous for me as I'm making this transition. And I'm not going to go into detail as why that is, but uh, some people who have been through this can do the math. It's very unsafe to not even like in a physical sense. Like there's other things that can be done to a person. Um, anyway, like it was already hard. I was already getting hacked on my Twitter account, and people were like, someone was in my DMs, deleting my DMs I was saying to people. There was already people going into my TikTok lives who I could not block, who were mocking me as I was trying to block them, telling me that they knew I was trying to, but they couldn't. And then just being a weird, creepy troll. There was already that kind of stuff. There was already, whenever I got an opportunity to like promote like a book or something like that, which would pay good money, TikTok would just give me strikes and say that I was making a violation on whatever what I was promoting. But I wasn't doing the thing. And so they just make it impossible for me to do well, to make money. And my account was getting shadowed for no reason. I mean, just recently. I didn't have any strikes on my account at all. I haven't been on the TikTok account, but I did a couple of promotions for Substack. This was like months ago. And they're pulling videos from like 2 years ago. They're pulling videos where I restacked somebody else's video, and they're giving me strikes for these like 2-year-old videos. And I'm right on the precipice of having an account ban on TikTok. I haven't used the app. They're literally looking for a reason to ban it. And it's just, but it was always that kind of stuff. It was, oh, I could not. And I wasn't, there's no real violations. They don't even give me the reason anymore. They just say community guidelines. Usually, at least before they would make up one of them, they'd pick one of them that was closest to it. They don't even care about that anymore. Anyway, it just felt like in every single part of my life, look, I came from nothing. When I say nothing, single mom. My mom worked 3 months. This isn't a disrespect to her, because everyone's got their own struggle. My mom went through a lot. She was almost incapable of working. Um, Really rough childhood for her too. But she worked 3 months the entire time I was home. We weren't. She was constantly like getting money from other people, family members, friends. Like we lived on the edge of poverty. Um, that didn't stop me. That didn't make me have excuses. The world's against me and all that. I busted my ass and I got to a decent place in my life. I've never been one to make excuses, no matter how hard things are. And things were hard. Things were always hard. Trying to get through college, trying to work a full-time job while I was going through college, giving most of my money to my family because my family was broke. That was my life growing up. Um, and it's not like it was always hard because there was people in my life that helped me out and gave me a chance here. So I'm grateful for that too. This isn't me complaining. This is me trying to use a comparative analysis of my entire life up to like 2019, where things were hard, but I did all right because I worked hard and I didn't make excuses. And I always try to be better at whatever I was doing. But what I found is that as time passed and we got closer to the present, the harder the work I worked, the more I got punished. I didn't become a less mature person over time. Like I become more mature. I became more of a people person. I became more of a better communicator, more of like a person that's like, you know what? I'm not gonna make any noise. I'm just gonna kind of lay low, do my work, da 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 da. If anything, I became better at all those skills that you kind of like. Some of the skills are like phony skills. Like when something bad's happening at work, like you should be able to voice your opinion about it and all that kind of stuff. But I even learned that that wasn't a thing that was possible in our world today. Like, especially if it was like a higher up, you just put your head down. Unless it's some criminal thing, you put your head down. You don't say much. You still do the right thing, but you know that if you were to say anything, you just get fired. So like I learned all the politics stuff, and so it's not like I became less able to navigate even hostile workspaces. But like I said, it was like I was being hunted. I would have people who would just like terrorize me and like every day and like all of my jobs. Like this, it just started happening everywhere all the time. Like people, it's like they were being paid. It was happening everywhere. Keep in mind, everything up until this point, like I said, you struggle, but you work and you get ahead. This was different. It was like the world completely changed. It's like I was living in a nightmare. Like multiple people. It was like their actual job position where we worked was to mess with me. It was constant. I was under constant stress. And it wasn't because I was doing something wrong. I never got pulled in the office to get coached because I always did my job really well. I always made the companies a lot of money, like relative, because like I would come in and then all of a sudden you would see 20, 30% increases in a particular department or just in your overall sales because I came in and I did that for you. Like I'm not trying to blow myself up. I was phenomenal at what I did. Like really good. And that's just not one thing. Media, marketing, operations. Like, no, I'm an ace. I know that. Because I can see the numbers, I could see the results. It wasn't just the aestheticness of the media or the amount of likes and follows and all that. Like I was pulling in, I was raking in money. Like in the first 3 months of this one job that I had made them so much money that I had paid for my full year salary and some. In the first month, just on the increases in one particular, like Amazon sales. Just to the way I increased the Amazon sales, in 3 months, I had already paid for my entire year's salary and some. And that doesn't even count for all the other departments where I increased sales. Like, so that's the kind of work I was doing. And I wasn't causing any trouble. I wasn't getting in arguments with anybody. If the boss told me to do something, I just did it. I did everything I was asked on my job description. Then they added a bunch of stuff. I didn't complain about it. It was kind of a weird thing where I was even kind of confused because they worded it so weird in the job description and then they act like it was also this other thing. So I was like, you know what? Because it wasn't, I'll just go ahead and do that thing. Um, but at the same time, I wasn't a pushover. Like that thing, they got me kind of thing. You know what I mean? But I wasn't like, I did not give off the vibe of being a punching bag. I'll tell you that much, right? But I also wasn't aggressive and hostile. Like I found that balance. In any event, like even if you're a really nice guy, it's like, and you're just doing your job, it's like, why would people also hate you? I understand they try to take advantage of you if they think they could, but why would they also despise you and try to drive you crazy and play all sorts of mind games? Like my boss, like I'm not going to keep going on about this, but I think it's important to explain because we've really lost touch with how bad things have gotten. And we all probably, I think a lot of us feel really alone and misunderstood and like, a lack of understanding for what we're going through. And I don't really spend basically any time talking about this stuff. If it's in the here and now, like weird stuff with Substack, I'll talk about it. But I just needed to get some of the stuff off my chest, right? Because things are shifting in the right direction finally. And I'm making this very difficult transition, but very necessary transition. And I think it's time to finally like come out and just tell you guys. Um, like my brain is so overwhelmed from the past 5 years. It's not just all the terrible stuff happening on the outside world that I'm a very like, I'm very passionate about humanity and very passionate about things, us having a good world. I'm very passionate about standing up against tyranny and injustice, and the world is just filled with it. And the people who are committing it are mocking other people for being upset about it, or taking pleasure in the pain. That's hard enough. But it seems like my life has become like the same thing. And no matter how hard I try to be in the light and manifest and think positive, it's like you can't think positive when you have somebody screaming at you every other day and then giving you a silent treatment on the opposite days of that. And then the things you're getting a silent treatment for and getting screamed at for are things that are so ridiculously delusional. Or you're getting screamed at about something that came out of left field. You're like, why is this person thinking I'm doing this? Come to find out they're the one doing it. And they're yelling at you for it. And then they admit that that's and like, that's just one of 1,000 things that were happening. And like, I have no problem getting rid of people in my life, man. But it was like, it was so constant and so stressful It wasn't like anything in the past. And this is why I think it was largely spiritual. It was so constant, yet so subtle sometimes. It was like there was 1,000 spears being thrown at me all at once, to the point where I was so foggy. It's like 1 second I had, 500,000 followers on TikTok, and I had, a business that was like doing well. Like we were pulling 3 months into the business. It was already producing $2,000 a month. 3 months, 3 months. It was already doing $2,000 a month consistently. Like it was consistent. Like I was looking at projections and I was seeing the money that was coming in for the following month, and it was right on schedule to make the same amount of money, if not more. And I knew I could stabilize that and grow that and scale that. And I was just at the precipice of scaling that. And there's just another insane thing happened where people were acting like demons. Not even joking with you. Like crazy look in their eyes, screaming weird accusations at me. Like that didn't make any sense at all. Like weird shit. Um, and this was just visiting family, not my family, their family. We just for the summer we were visiting a family, her family, and we were just planning. We were planning on moving more out west, and we were visiting the family because we were going to be farther away from them. So, we were just coming to like spend some extra time there, and everything kind of was like going okay, and then boom, like literally out of nowhere, complete meltdown, weird shit that didn't make any sense. And so I had to pause the business because we were looking for a place to stay. And then this happened and we literally had to leave. Like fight happened an hour later, we're on the road because we had to be. There was like no choice. That's how bad it was. And so we're on the road and we're trying to Airbnb and we're trying to find long-term Airbnb. So the whole business gets paused. Then I just start getting terrorized for everything. If I have a one-on-one consulting with a female, there's nothing inappropriate happening. I'm having the meetings right in the open, like so this other person can see and experience and know everything that's being said and all that. Um, just it started off small, I feel a little weird about, and then it would turn into I'm cheating, you know. Um, you could see the whole interaction, the only interaction I was having. I did all of the messaging to set up the meetings through the business app, which this person had full access to. Or if I had started hanging out with a couple of bros, I had a couple of guy friends that we were really connecting. We had a lot of like cool like it just there was a vibe, and there was an accelerating energy. I knew something cool, good what could come from this collaboration that we were working on, and I planned on expanding it, kind of like a new order of a new spiritual order, really, really promising. And, you know, uh, that went really bad because I didn't invite my partner to also be part of what was a guys club. I wanted to have a boys club, wanted to hang out with the guys, have something that wasn't okay. And so all these things were happening, and I just find myself in these hours long fights. And the entire time I'm getting, cut off, talked over, screamed at, being accused of something. And then I'm trying to explain how I didn't do this thing. And as I'm trying to explain that thing, I'm being accused of another thing. And then I'm trying to explain that and show the person how this doesn't make any sense, that I wouldn't do something like this. Um, and they would I'd catch them smirking and smiling, like when I was really like upset. The more upset I got, it's like the happier they got. And the more happy I was in general, they were miserable. Like if I woke up happy, smiling, looking at you, said the sun's out, da 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 da, and I'd be in a good mood and I'd be joking. You could just see their mood plummet. The better mood I was in, the worse they felt. I couldn't understand it. So, anyways, so I had this all this stuff going on, and I became in such a fog, it like all disappeared. The business, gone. I I couldn't get it because every time I tried, I was in another 3 hour fight because one of the girls in the classes was pretty. This is the kind of shit I was going through. And it wasn't even like, fine, I just won't. Sometimes it was. So I was like, fine, I don't even fucking do anything. But a lot of times it was just because I was so exhausted. I'd have to cancel a class because I was just mentally not, I didn't have any time to write the notes because I was in a 3 hour long fight because one of the girls in the class was pretty. So I couldn't even, you know what I mean? So like the very next class I was planning on doing, wasn't even just one 3 hour fight, right? It was ice cold, 2 days, no speaking to me, like, obviously if I asked them a question, they'd answer it, but it was just like I didn't exist to them besides that, screaming and yelling, strange accusations. They would try to do something to make me feel jealous as if I had done something to them by allowing human beings into the class. Keep in mind, that person found the girl in the class attractive. So whatever she was attracted to, she was accusing me of I don't know what, because it was just the first, like it'd be a first class with this, there'd be a female that would be objectively attractive. And immediately, like it was my problem that attractive women existed, like attractive women exist on the planet. This happened all the time. And I would just be exhausted. And then, we were sharing a car because I put my car in storage because we were traveling a lot. Um, we were traveling a lot. There was just no need to have two cars and wait, twice as much gas. Just didn't make any sense. So I stored my car. Um, it was a couple states away from where we had eventually landed up. The plan was to grab the car on the way back from this vacation to meet our family, but it was just everything was so stressful, and all of a sudden we had to think about how we were going to, have to spend a lot more money on random Airbnbs until we found a spot to live that just wasn't worth it to also grab the car and do the additional work because it'd been sitting in the Texas sun for however long it was, and there was a lot of wear and tear, and it couldn't start, and all the tires were flat, and it was just, and I was already just so fucking exhausted. So the car stayed there. It stayed longer, and the wear and tear got worse, and it just, wasn't even worth trying to repair it at that point. To me, it was already a bit of an older car. It'd been through a flood. The electrical was a little messed up, and every now and then it would act up, and so I just kind of got rid of the car. Um, you know, I got rid of it, but just took it out of storage and tried to sell it and didn't get any takers for it. Um, and so the business was gone, car gone, friends gone. And all the time I'm accidentally or inadvertently creating a reputation where I can't be trusted to be consistent. And all this stuff is happening in the background. And like I have no control over it. And I've never been in this situation. And I called some places, some resources for some help but I was embarrassed, because I'm not a weak person. I'm not a lazy person. But it was just so much and it was so fast and it was so dizzying. It's like I went to bed one day, one person, and woke up and I didn't even recognize myself. And then everything was gone and all the resources I had to get my life back together were gone. And it almost felt like that was the intention. And I imagine it was. And now as, you know, push is coming to shove and I'm been actively making this transition. As difficult it is as it is in my position, everything's being reframed, right? I'm the bad guy. How dare I stop doing the business? Like, if I've gained anything from this, it is the patience of a god. And the fact that I haven't lost my mind, I think about that day to day. It's like I should have went crazy with everything. I should have lost my mind. But I think it actually made me stronger. I feel terrible. I have a lot to, I just have massive amounts of tension on my body, I'm sure, that I have to like work through. I don't feel well. The stress is so much that like my body physically is locking up. All of my muscles are tight. I can barely move freely. I'm always in physical pain. I'm always in physical pain, like a lot, like just always. It's bad, and I know it's all stress. I don't eat great because I'm always trying to get high on dopamine to, boost. I don't like doing this. I don't like talking about this stuff because I know most people are assholes, right? And they're just like, oh, fucking bitch. Whatever. I don't care. I know I'm not. I know what I've been through. I know what I've overcome. This shit is different. This shit is spiritual, man. This is some dark stuff. I don't get it. I can't understand why any human being could act like this. But then I see Benjamin Netanyahu. It's the same spirit. Donald Trump, whoever, these evil, disgusting people. How could any human being behave like this? It's one thing to want to get ahead and be a selfish person. You're going to have that shit, man, until you exterminate it out of the population like they used to do. We're going to have that until you enforce its illegality in the culture. But to find people who lose their mind trying to hurt you, who hurt themselves trying to hurt you, they'll do it despite themselves. Like they have an agenda against you, like they're getting paid egregious amounts of money to hurt you, and then also take pleasure in it. I can't understand it. I have never experienced anything like this in my life. And the only thing I want to do is rebuild. And I'd love to get back to doing the stuff on here. I know I tell you guys the internet isn't good, and it really isn't for the most part. But you can find good. You can find good people doing good things on here. And I've struggled with like, is the internet like the mark of the beast? Because it kind of fits all the parameters. And is it really healthy? Or is it so bad? And is it the algorithm so geared toward managing perceptions and managing reality and like reprogramming and socially engineering you? Can we escape those things while still trying to tap into the good resources that are still on the internet, right? But of those good resources, can you even find them? Or, are they going to be banned eventually, right? We're already seeing a ton of like genuine voices get shadow banned and sometimes get banned too and censored and demonetized. And so it's already pretty difficult out here for people who are going to tell the truth. They're not going to lie, right? They're not going to take a Faustian bargain. You see how those people pay at a much higher rate than anyone else does on the internet. But there's all these things I wanted to do. And when you're living in that kind of situation, like everything just feels dark. Everything just feels hopeless. And so maybe I'm a victim of having some dark colored shades on. And so as I make this transition, yeah, I'm going to feel out. And I'd love to be able to get back to doing all the things I was doing on here, the classes and the lives. And it's just impossible for me to do it right now. It's impossible. I'm telling you, impossible. Um, but I'd like to make it possible again. But it's not going to be easy because I somehow have to figure out how to get enough pieces of my life back together. while I'm being sabotaged. Um, and not having any friends. And look, I know I can go on here or on TikTok and I can get 100 people to offer me to stay with them. But with everything how my life has gone, I understand what a crazy dice roll any of that is. Because I don't know if that person's already crazy. I don't know if that person's going to go crazy. I am so grateful for all the people that would offer, right? If I were to just hit, hey, can I crash? Do you guys know a job in this area that I could pick up real quick and get an apartment or whatever it is? Um, but it's happened so many times that I'm even more cautious to enter into a strange land with a stranger and then have it happen then. So it's like, look, I'm a smart guy. I know I'm going to figure it out, right? But just bear with me. I want to be here. I when I mean here, like, communicating these ideas to you guys. I want to do something for the time that we have to be able to do something. Say something true. Say something that, lifts your heart up, helps you be a little healthier, helps you connect, meditate better, meditate more, connect more with God, understand the things that are important in life and how to treat each other. And these are the things I love doing and I want to do them. Um, it's my passion, it's my love. Turns out you can make a decent amount of money doing it if you don't have a bunch of people trying to sabotage you while you're doing it. So, like I said, bear with me. Look, I'm gonna make a separate video doing the current event stuff because this went a long time and I don't want to keep you guys all day. Um, I'll give it in pieces, but maybe I'll shoot it today again and post it today, or maybe I'll shoot it tomorrow. But expect, we'll just kind of go over some of the stuff that's going on. And again, we'll talk about how to think about it, how to approach it, not, just do commentary on the thing that's happening. Like, so what does this actually mean? What should we do as a result of this thing happening? You know how things go here. We dive deeper, we do the meta-analysis. We don't do the noise, blah, 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 static. Yeah, of course, here's a theory, there's a theory, all that nonsense. Just talking about it like, oh, here's another. This wasn't on my bingo card. We don't do that shit here. You know that. We dive deep into the intrinsic meaning or potential intrinsic meaning of whatever phenomena is occurring. But yeah, I'll try to put that video out either today or tomorrow. Um, in some ways I've said too much. Just pray for me, please. Pray for me. Love you guys. As always, peace, love, respect, and God bless.